Very good morning to all of you, my friends. Welcome back with a new chapter. So, I hope you guys are thorough with the concept of activity-based costing. And I hope you guys have solved all the questions on activity-based costing. So, let's start with a new chapter that is cost sheet, one of the easiest chapter of the syllabus. And yes, we can't skip this chapter. Examiner do ask question on cost sheet sometimes. So again, if the examiner do ask question on cost sheet, then somewhat we can say it's a bonus marks. Uh, Examiner do ask sometimes tricky questions also, but if you are thorough with the concepts, then you'll be able to solve questions on cost sheet very easily. Variety of questions are available over RTPs and MTPs. So in today's session, we'll be discussing the concepts. Apart from this, we'll be discussing one or two basic questions. Thereafter, in the coming session, we have lots of time for cost sheet. So we'll be discussing few questions from past RTPs or MTPs. So let's start with this chapter cost sheet. One second. So good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible to all. So I think one of the students, Mr. Kuldeep, you need to check your speaker. I'm audible to all. So let's start with cost sheet. Let me check. Few students are saying something. So good morning, everyone. No worries, Miss Lavanya. Admin sir, I request you to please share the WhatsApp group link because many students are not aware about. So please, admin sir. Anyways, that's okay, Lavanya. Whatever I'm teaching, it's altogether a new chapter. So nothing related to the chapters what we have already discussed. So let's start with cost sheet. When talking about cost sheet is a statement wherein we systematically record all the costs that are to be incurred in relation to manufacture of a product. एक प्रोडक्ट मैन्युफैक्चर करने के लिए जो भी हम लोग खर्चे करने वाले वॉट एवर द एक्सपेंसेस व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू इनकर टू मैन्युफैक्चर अ प्रोडक्ट we record it systematically in a statement. That statement is basically called as cost sheet. So what is cost sheet? Cost sheet is a statement wherein we systematically record all the costs that are to be incurred in relation to manufacture of product. So cost sheet क्या है? एक statement है wherein we systematically record all the costs that are to be incurred in relation to manufacture a product, or we can say to be incurred to manufacture a product. That's okay, Kuldeep. Anyways, when talking about cost, So we have to record all the costs that are to be incurred to manufacture a product. Now, when talking about the cost of a product, the cost can be classified under two parts. That is direct cost and indirect cost. When talking about जो cost हम लोग record करने वाले हैं, it can be classified in two parts. All the cost of a particular product are to be classified in two parts. Cost can be classified in two parts. That is direct cost and indirect cost. When talking about direct cost, the cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. What is direct cost? The cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product. The cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is what? Direct cost. Very good, Meenu. When talking about indirect cost, the cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product is indirect cost. The cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product is indirect cost. So the cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. When talking about indirect cost, the cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product is indirect cost. Okay, if the time permits, for sure, Mustafa. Now further, direct cost can be classified in three parts. Direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses. Direct cost can be classified in three parts: direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses. When talking about indirect cost also, it can be classified in three parts. That is indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expense. So for the students who have joined a bit late, we have started with cost sheet. When talking about cost sheet is a statement wherein we systematically record all the costs that are related to manufacture a product. When talking about direct cost, the cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. Indirect cost, the cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product is indirect cost. Direct cost can be divided in three parts: direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses. Further, indirect cost also can be divided in three parts: indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. Now, very important, what's the difference between direct and indirect material? Can anyone tell me? I think you are done with your chapter material costing. So what's the difference between direct and indirect material? Can anyone tell me? Yes, waiting for your answers. I just want your opinion on what is the difference between direct and indirect material. Can you give few examples, Meenu and all? Meenu, Mustafa, Kuldeep. You are already done with this chapter, material costing. That's okay. I just want few examples. Incorrect answer, Meenu. Waiting for your answers. No, Aishwarya, it is incorrect. I'm not asking for the definition. Just give me few examples. Rabari. Incorrect answer. I think you're still not thorough with the concept of direct and indirect material. So now it is correct, Mustafa. Perfect answer. I just want every one of you to actively participate in the session. Very good, Rabari. Incorrect answer, Kuldeep. Very good, Gunjan. Answer is correct. Meenu, no. Incorrect answer. Deepika, I just want example, practical example. I know, Harsh, it is raw material and labor. Give me a few examples of direct material. Mrs. Prajapati, it is incorrect. Give me a few examples. I know it is raw material purchase, but what are the examples of direct material? Okay, so I'll give you an explanation. Thereafter, I'll ask you the next question. Anyways, I've got answers from Rajiv. Incorrect answer. Just keep the things simple. Just give me an example which you are using in day-to-day life. So, Nitya, very good. This is the correct answer. Very good, Kuldeep. It is correct now. So, anyways, let's discuss the difference between direct and indirect material. Let's say I'm the manufacturer of this pen. Now, this pen is made up of what? Plastic and ink. These are the major raw material to manufacture this final product, that is pen. So, this pen is made up of what? Plastic and ink. So, very important, guys. This plastic and ink is what? My direct material. Now, let's say these pens are manufactured in machine, and for smooth functioning of machine, we are using some sort of lubricating oil and grease. This grease and lubricating oil is nowhere present in this final product pen. So this lubricating oil and grease is basically indirect material in case of manufacturing a pen. And to manufacture a pen, very simple, guys. Basically, plastic and ink is what? My direct material. Another example, let's say I'm the manufacturer of cakes and biscuits, bakery-based biscuits. Now, cake is manufactured from what? Very simple: egg, milk, we can say wheat flour, cream. So these are the major ingredients to manufacture a cake. So these major ingredients are what? My direct material. I repeat again, I'm the manufacturer of cake. Now, cake is made up of what? Whipped cream, milk, milk powder, chocolate, chocolate powder, egg, etc. So these are the major ingredients to manufacture a cake. Now see, to maintain the hygiene standards, my chef uses aprons, disposable aprons, chef caps. We can say the disposable hand gloves. Now, this disposable hand gloves or aprons are nowhere present in the final product, but yes, to maintain the hygiene standard, I have to use these material. So, in case of cake, basically the flour, the milk products, apart from this, the cocoa powder, the chocolate is what direct material. And when talking about to maintain the hygiene standard, my chef is using apron, hand gloves, and etc. These are basically my indirect material. Another example, let's say I'm the manufacturer of wooden furniture. Now, this wooden furniture is made up of what? Wood. But very important, to paste the wood, we are using some kind of glue. So this wood is what? My direct material. And this glue is what? My indirect material. I hope this part is clear to all. What is the difference between direct and indirect material? Anyone having any doubts? Very good, Ishwarya. That is, let's say I'm the manufacturer of shirt. Now, this shirt is made up of what? Fabric. So, fabric is what? My direct material. Again, this fabric is made up in machine. We convert cotton into thread and from thread to fabric. So, this job is done on machines. And yes, for the smooth functioning of machine, we are using some sort of oil, grease, consumable stores. So this oil, grease, and consumable stores is nowhere present in my final product, that is shirt. So these are basically my indirect material. And very important, the shirt is made up of fabric. So fabric is what? My direct material. Anyone with any other opinion and answers? So let me check few. Meenu, crystal clear. Okay, so now I hope this part is clear, direct material and indirect material. Now let's move towards the next part, direct and indirect labor. So can anyone tell me what's the difference between direct and indirect labor? I was expecting an answer from you, Mr. Linga. Can anyone tell me what's the difference? Very good, Prajyot. Very good, Pooja. What's the difference between direct and indirect material? Very good, Meda. I just checked your answer. Mr. Charan, very good. Your answer is correct. Khushi. Yes, I understand, Aishwarya, your answer is correct. But yes, what about indirect labor? Whenever you are posting the answer, just proceed. In case of material, I explained that, okay, if I'm manufacturing pen, plastic and ink is my direct material. Again, these pens are manufactured in machines. So for smooth functioning of machine, we are using lubricating oil and grease. So this is indirect material. So when you are posting an answer, just differentiate that this is direct material in this industry and this is indirect material in this industry. See, a particular material can be a direct material in a particular business and indirect material in a particular business. Very good. Very good, Prajyot. Now see, When talking about direct and indirect labor, when talking about direct and indirect labor, let's take a very basic example. I'm the manufacturer of shirts. Now, I have appointed a team of 100 workers who are dedicatedly stitching my shirts. So the amount paid to these workers who are actually stitching the shirts is what? My direct labor. I repeat again, I'm the manufacturer of shirts. Now these shirts are stitched by tailor and I have appointed 100 workers to stitch my shirts. Now, whatever the amount paid to that workforce who are actually stitching the shirt is what? My direct labor. Now, let's say I have kept 5 supervisors to supervise the work done by this workforce. I have kept 5 supervisors to supervise their work. So amount paid to these supervisors are what? Indirect labor, because they are nowhere directly involved in manufacturing that product. So the amount paid to the supervisor is indirect labor. Another example, let's say I have kept a security guard at my factory gate to maintain the security in the factory. So amount paid to the security guard or gatekeeper is what? My indirect labor. Another example, let's say I have kept in housekeeping staff. Again, to maintain the cleanliness, I have kept in housekeeping staff. So amount paid to that housekeeping staff is what? My indirect labor. I hope this part is clear to all direct and indirect labor. Very good, everyone. So direct material is done, indirect material is done, direct and indirect labor is done. Now, when talking about direct expenses, apart from direct material and direct labor, all the expenses that are directly attributable in manufacturing of products are direct expenses. We can say power, coal and fuel, or basically technical fees paid, or if any amortization of molds or dies. So these are all what? My direct expenses. Now, when talking about indirect expenses, जो किसी में भी cover नहीं होता है, is covered under indirect expenses. Those expenses which are not covered under anything, be it direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, indirect material, indirect labor, are all covered under indirect expenses. It can be depreciation, it can be insurance, it can be rent, it can be electricity, it can be anything. Audit fees or professional fees, all these are what? My indirect expenses. I hope this part is clear to all now. When talking about direct cost, the cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. Indirect cost, the cost that play a supporting role. You need to check. See again, when talking from practical question perspective, you can solve it easily. But yes, in practical life, you should understand that what is direct and indirect cost. I hope this part is clear to all. Very good, everyone. Now, further, when talking about these indirect costs, that is indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expenses, they are also spent at or incurred at 3 stages. They are also incurred at 3 stages. That is at factory, that next is office and administration, and selling and distribution. The indirect expenses are incurred at 3 levels. That is at factory, that is at office and administration, and last is selling and distribution. When talking about factory, there are few examples I'm writing for your reference. That is depreciation on machinery, depreciation on factory building, It can be indirect labor if it is given straight away. Again, uh, it can be anything. I mean, salary paid to factory supervisor. When talking about office and admin, it can be rent on office building. It can be depreciation on office furniture. It can be director fee, etc. Further, when talking about selling and distribution, again, this can be incurred at, when talking about selling and distribution, it can be advertisement, salesman salary, it can be depreciation on delivery vehicles, carriage outward, so indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses can be at factory also. These three can be in office also. These three can be in selling and distribution also. Anyone having any doubts? Anyone is having any doubts? Very good, Shamli. Factory rent can be an example of factory expenses. Very good. I'll be discussing on this part carriage inward, Adil. Repairs on machineries under factory overheads. So anyways, so a cost can be divided in two parts, direct and indirect cost. Indirect cost, again, indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses. These expenses are also incurred at three stages, that is factory, office, and selling distribution. Basically, when talking about indirect expenses, we call it as overheads also. So the chapter what you have learned is what? Overheads. So overheads are basically what? जो आपने overheads पढ़ा था, overheads होते क्या है basically? The indirect cost. So overheads can be factory overheads, office overheads, and selling and distribution overhead. So I'm done with this part, giving you 3 to 4 minutes time to copy everything. In the meanwhile, whatever you have understood, write the comments in your notebook so that you can, while you're revising for this part, then at least you will be able to recollect the things. In the meanwhile, those who have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. This is carriage outward, Meenu. I'll update you in a while, Khushi. Anyone with any doubts or queries? If the time permits, then yes, you can check out the lectures again. Khushi. Salary paid to factory supervisor, indirect labor, depreciation on factory building, and depreciation on machines. So basically, when talking about overheads, what are overheads? Basically, the indirect expenses are what we call as overheads. So now, these are few illustrative points made up. You can refer the study material, and still if you have any confusion in relating to a particular point, that where it will be classified, you can mention. I'll be addressing your query. So now I hope this part is clear to all direct and indirect material. Now, as I told you that cost sheet is a statement wherein we record all the cost. So now let's start with the preparation of the statement cost sheet. So let's start with the preparation of the statement cost sheet. Now, first and the foremost thing, if direct material is given straight away, we will write direct material. The first point what we will write in cost sheet is what? Direct material. But let's say some information is given in the question as regards opening and closing stock of raw material. So we will start with what? Opening stock of material. We will start with what? Opening stock of material. In this, we will add purchase of raw material, and we will subtract closing stock of raw material. So if direct material is given straight away, write direct material. But if direct material is not given straight away, some information is given in the question as regards opening and closing stock of raw material. Then opening stock of raw material, add purchase of raw material, subtract closing stock of raw material, we will get raw material consumed. Now, when talking about this purchase of raw material, Very important, guys, when talking about this purchase of raw material, very important, the cost till the factory gate. The cost till the factory gate will form part of purchase cost of raw material. So, very important, if I'm importing goods from Indonesia, let's say I'm the manufacturer of wooden furniture and I import teak wood from Indonesia. Now, along with the purchase price that is paid to the supplier, whatever the cost that is incurred till the factory gate, whatever the cost that will be incurred till the factory gate will form part of purchase cost of raw material. So, when talking about raw material purchase, we will write the purchase price. We will write the purchase price paid. In this, we will add few items. Very important. Whatever the additional cost incurred till the factory gate will form part of purchase cost of raw material. So we will add, if there is any transit insurance, we will add freight inward or carriage inward. Many students raise this point, sir, what about freight inward or carriage inward? Very important, it will be added to the purchase price of raw material. If any commission is paid, it is to be added. If any import duty is paid, it is to be added. If any GST is paid, it is to be added. If any GST is paid, it is to be added. Apart from this, whatever the costs that are incurred till the factory gate will be added. Can you guys give me a few more points that what need to be added? Any idea, guys, what all costs are incurred till the factory gate? Can you give me a few examples? So I'll add these points also. Earlier there was a tax that was levied. We call it as octroi. Now, after introduction of GST, it is removed. But earlier, octroi was paid on purchase of raw material. So, if any information is given as regards octroi, also we will add it. Carriage inward is covered already. I'll be discussing this part. This part is basically a part of material. Yes, very good, Mustafa. GST I have written. So anyways, guys, all these are the costs that will be added. Now we will subtract few items. Very important, guys. If the GST credit is available, suppose on purchases we are paying GST and we are getting the credit back. So if GST credit is available on purchase, then again, it is to be deducted. So if in question, it is given that GST paid is 10 lakh and in bracket it is given duty credit is available. So better ignore GST because at once we will add, thereafter we will subtract. So better ignore GST. So very important when talking about GST, if the duty credit is available, neither to add nor to subtract. Better leave GST. Generally on imports, we pay import duty. If we are getting any sort of duty credit, or we can say duty, basically DEPB credit or duty drawback, then it is to be deducted. This is related to this. One more important point. One second, there are few answers from various students. Yes, purchase return will be deducted. Yes, very good. We will subtract trade discount, not cash discount. We will subtract trade discount, not cash discount. So, Meenu Kumari, the duty paid will be added. If we are getting the duty credit back, it will be deducted. So, if any duty paid and information is given in the question as regards that duty credit is available, better ignore that duty. Yes, that is what I'm mentioning. Now, one more point need to be deducted. Very important. Let's take a very basic example. I am the manufacturer of potato chips from potatoes. I am the manufacturer of potato chips from potatoes. Now, these potatoes are procured directly from farm. Now, during the course of transit, loading and unloading, some potatoes are damaged. During the course of transporting, loading, unloading, some potatoes are damaged. So these damaged potatoes are scrapped in the market at a very nominal price. So any scrap value realized on sale of raw material will be deducted. So these are the points. So the final amount what we'll be getting is basically the purchase price of raw material. Now, very important, these points you can prepare it as working note also, and further, alternatively, the best approach is that these points will also form part of cost sheet. So you can present this in cost sheet only. Alternatively, you can present it as working note. Both the approaches are correct, but it is advisable to put up all these points in cost sheet. So when talking about the purchase price of material, all these will include in the purchase price of raw material. So anyone having any doubts till now, then you guys can please post. Yes, cost of container, toll charges will form part of purchase cost. It will form part of direct expenses, Aditya. Okay. So one more point. If any subsidy is received from government, again it will be deducted. Subsidy on purchase of raw material. So government बोलती है कि you purchase this raw material, I am there for you. I'll reimburse you 40% of the cost of raw material. So again, ultimately the cost to the company will only form part of cost sheet. Anyways, guys, so this is all what about purchase of raw material. So opening stock of raw material, add purchase of raw material, subtract closing stock of raw material. Herein we will get raw material consumed. Due to the space constraint, I want you guys to copy this part. I'll be erasing this part. So giving you 2 minutes time to copy this part specifically. I request you guys to copy this part. Yes, trade discount can be deducted, Naresh, but cash discount won't be deducted because it's a conditional discount. Yes, Kushi, due to the nature of product or due to the nature of raw material, sometimes few percentage of raw material is damaged. And the damaged material, if it is sold in the market and if we are getting some value, so this is basically the scrap value realized on sale of material. Octroi was the tax that was levied earlier before GST. So sometimes in some past question there is a point relating to octroi. So that's why I've mentioned octroi. Now it is nowhere applicable, but still, if sometimes if there is some point in question as regards octroi, then it is to be added in the purchase price of raw material. So we are done with the purchase price of raw material. So this is what we call as raw material consumed. In this, we will add direct labor and all the direct expenses. So the total what we will get is prime cost. I hope what is direct material, direct labor and direct expenses, you guys are all, thorough with it. I've already discussed this part in detail. Now, very important guys, when talking about direct labor also, so when talking about direct labor also, it covers many points. That is the wages paid. Apart from this, any allowance to workers, any perquisites to worker, thereafter any employer's contribution to provident fund, any bonus given to workers. So all these form part of direct wages. So very important, apart from the wages paid, any sort of allowance, monetary benefit, non-monetary benefit, by whatever name called, if it is provided to the direct labor, direct workforce, or we can say the workforce who are actually manufacturing the product, all these costs will form part of direct wages. Abnormal loss will never form part of cost sheet, or in fact, in any cost also, abnormal loss will never form part. Very good, Aishwarya. So when talking about, see, sometimes examiner can give you few points to confuse you. Bonus paid to workers, employer contribution to provident fund. So don't get confused. All these will form part of direct labor or direct wages. I request you guys to copy this part, please. So any sort of benefit directly, indirectly paid to the labor is will form part of direct labor or direct wages. Let me check if there are any queries. Yes, ultimately, Mr. Linga, the point is the cost to the company will form part of cost sheet. So if anything we are getting reimbursement from either government or from supplier or from anything, it will be deducted. So I am covering each and every point in detail, whatever the examiner can ask. Still, if anything is left out, then when you will see variety of question, you'll be able to understand. But I'll try my level best to cover each and every point in detail. So anyways, guys, we are done with the work labor. So direct material, direct labor, and direct expenses is what we call as prime cost. Now, in prime cost, we will add all the factory oblique work overheads. So the overheads that are incurred at the factory level will be added in the prime cost. So direct material, direct labor, direct expenses is prime cost. In prime cost, we will add all the factory overhead. So we will get the gross factory or work cost. We will get gross factory oblique work cost. In this, we will make adjustments of opening work in progress and closing work in progress. The final amount will be basically the work cost or factory cost. So the final amount what we'll be getting is the work or factory cost. Anyone having any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. So direct material, direct labor, direct expenses is prime cost. In prime cost, we will add all the factory overhead. We will get the gross factory oblique work cost. In this, we will make adjustments of opening and closing work in progress. We will get factory oblique work cost. Now, in this, we have to make few adjustments to calculate the cost of production. In this, we have to make few adjustments to calculate the cost of production. So in this, we will add few items. That is quality control cost, research and development cost. Next is administration overheads related to production. So quality control cost, research and development cost, administration overhead related to production. In this, we will subtract credit for recoveries and we will add primary packing cost. So we will add what? Few items: quality control cost, research and development cost, administration overhead related to production. We will subtract credit for recoveries, and thereafter we will add primary packing cost. So after making adjustments of all these items in the work or factory cost, we will get basically the cost of production. Now we'll be discussing each and every point one by one. So let's start with the first point, that is quality control cost. Again, guys, you have to memorize this format. Direct material, direct labor, direct expenses is prime cost. Prime cost, if we add factory overheads, we will get work cost. After making adjustments of opening and closing work in progress, we will get the final work cost. In this, we have to make adjustments of few items. First item, quality control cost. Second item, research and development cost. Third item, administration overhead related to production. I've written it. Administration overhead related to production. We will subtract credit for recoveries. And last, we will add primary packing cost. Now, let me explain these points one by one. When talking about quality control costs, the costs that are incurred to maintain the quality or for improvement of quality of product, we call it as quality control cost. Let's say salary paid to quality control staff. Any additional material that is used to improve the quality of product. So whatever the salary or any expenses incurred, be it material, be it labor, be it overheads, basically indirect. So these are basically the quality control cost. Next cost is research and development cost. Again, any research or development conducted for the improvement of product or for the improvement of production process, then the cost that is incurred on research and development will form part of cost of production or research and development cost. So let's say salaries paid to research and development staff, any sort of material that is used on trial basis to improve the product or to improve the production process will form part of research and development cost. Now, next is administration overhead related to production. So, whatever the overheads that are incurred relating to production and that is relating to administration, let's say salaries paid to production control manager. So, all these administration overhead that are directly related to production will form part of cost of production. Now, next is credit for recoveries. Now, see, in purchase of raw material, what we did, at last we deducted that scrap value realized on sale of raw material. So अगर ट्रांजिट में या लोडिंग एंड अनलोडिंग के केस में अगर कुछ मटेरियल डैमेज होता है and if any scrap value is realized on sale of that material, it was deducted from purchase price. But what about the waste that is generated from a production process? During the course of production, or production process, some waste is generated and that waste is sold in the market. So that waste is sold in the market and if any value is realized, we call it as credit for recovery. So basically, credit for recoveries means what? Scrap value realized on sale of byproduct. Scrap value realized on sale of byproduct. When talking about byproduct, what is byproduct? Incidental waste arises during the course of manufacture of main product. आप प्रोडक्ट मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हैं एंड ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सम वेस्ट इज जनरेटेड एंड दैट वेस्ट if it can be sold in the market, then the amount realized on that incidental waste is basically the credit for recoveries. So if there is any raw material that is scrapped out, it will be deducted from the purchase price. But if any waste is generated from production process and that waste, if it is sold in the market, then here it will be deducting as credit for recoveries. So very important, when talking about credit for recoveries, it talks about byproduct. When talking about byproduct, what is byproduct? Incidental waste that arises during the course of manufacture of main product. Example can be, let's say I'm the manufacturer of sugar from sugarcane. Now, while converting or while processing sugarcane to convert it into sugar, some waste is generated. We call it as molasses. So that molasses, if it is sold in the market and if any negligible value is realized, then it will be deducted as credit for recoveries. Basic example, I'm the manufacturer of butter. I'm the manufacturer of butter from milk. Milk is my raw material and butter is my final product. Now, during the course of manufacture of butter, buttermilk is generated. We don't want to manufacture buttermilk, but yes, it is generated. Now, this buttermilk is basically the byproduct of the main product, that is butter. And if that buttermilk is sold in the market at a very nominal price, then this amount is what basically the credit for recoveries. Anyone having any doubts? Credit for recoveries? I request you guys to copy this part, please. See, there is a difference between scrap value realized on sale of raw material and amount realized on sale of byproduct. Scrap value realized on purchase of material or on sale of basically material, it will be deducted from the purchase price. And if any incidental waste is generated from production process, and if that waste is sold in the market, basically it will be deducted while calculating cost of production. Anyone with any doubts? Yes, Ishwarya, Meenu, Linga, Shamli, Rajiv, Hina. I hope you are understanding the concepts, Hina. Lavanya, I hope you are understanding the things. I hope you are thorough with everything, what I have discussed till now. So I request, see, all these are very, very minor points. Examiner can twist these points. So that's why I'm discussing these points in detail. Let me check if there are any queries. I'm not sure about this industry. I can give you one more example. Let's say I'm the manufacturer of shirt. Now, during the course of stitching a shirt, some percentage of fabric is scrapped. And let's say these fabrics are used to manufacture a face mask. So that face mask is basically my byproduct. So we can say that waste fabric while manufacturing a shirt is what my byproduct. And the shirt is my final product. Yes, salary paid to research and development personnel will form part of research and development cost. Now, when talking about packing cost, See, I have written primary packing cost. So if it is primary packing cost, it will form part of cost of production. But if it is secondary, then it will form part of selling and distribution cost. So let me discuss this with the help of an example. Yes, we can say. Now let me discuss this with the help of an example. Let's say I'm the manufacturer of a beverages. I'm the manufacturer of a beverage made from mango. Now these beverages are packed in Tetra Pak. So without that Tetra Pak, the product is not marketable. So the cost of that Tetra Pak is basically the primary packing cost. So guys, you do guys consume fruity or maza. These fruity or maza are packed in Tetra Pak or plastic bottle. Without this Tetra Pak or plastic bottle, the product cannot be sold in the market. So basically, this is what my primary packing cost. Now let's say these Tetra packs are packed in cartons. A pack of 50 Tetra packs are packed in a carton or packed in a container. So the cost of that carton or container is basically the secondary packing cost. So it will form part of selling and distribution. Anyone having any doubts or queries? Yes, plastic bag used to pack milk, Tetra packs used to pack beverages, the plastic bottle used to pack these Pepsi, Coca-Cola, etc. All these are basically the primary packing cost. I request you guys to copy this part. Let me check if there are any queries. When talking about, I'll be discussing this part also, Kushi. Give me some time. Yes, Gunjan, that is correct. Very good, Gunjan. So we are done with calculation of cost of production. I'm writing here also. In cost of production, we will make adjustments of opening and closing stock of finished goods. So herein we made adjustments of opening and closing stock of raw material. Herein we make adjustments of opening and closing work in progress. So after cost of production, we will make adjustments of so we will get the final figure, that is cost of production. Sorry, cost of goods sold. So in cost of production, we will make adjustments of opening and closing stock of finished goods. We will get the final figure, that is cost of goods sold. Now one more point. closing stock of finished goods. This part basically the closing stock of finished goods. Closing stock of finished goods is valued at cost of production. Closing stock of finished goods is always valued at cost of production. So this is to be valued at cost of production. Let me discuss this with the help of an example wherein, let's say, my cost of production is 1 lakh. Now units manufactured it's, let's say, 10,000 units. Units sold is, let's say, 8,000 units. My cost of production is 1 lakh. My units manufactured are 10,000. Units sold are 8,000. It means what? 2,000 units are still in stock. Therefore, my closing stock in units will be how much? 2,000 units. Now we have to calculate the value of these 2,000 units. See, always remember, value of opening stock will be given in the question. The value of opening stock will be given in the question. Cost of production we will calculate. But generally, the value of closing stock of finished goods will not be given in the question. So very important, closing stock of finished goods is valued at cost of production. So herein, what will be my cost per unit? 1 lakh is the total cost of production divided by 10,000 units. So this will be 10 rupees per unit. So what will be my value of closing stock? 2,000 into the per unit value 10. So this will be 20,000 rupees. Again, I request you guys to copy this explanation. These additional workings are very important because examiner can twist and turn this question on these additional workings only in most of the cases. So I request you guys to please copy this part. Very good, Shamli. Then you have to check that what is the question. But as of now, very simple. Closing stock is always valued at cost of production. I request you guys to copy this explanation, please. So after calculating the cost of goods sold, we will add 3 items. Add administration overhead, all the administration overheads in general, all the general administration overhead or office overhead, all the selling overheads, and all the distribution overhead. So this will basically the cost of sales, or we can say the total cost of the product. So this is all what about the format of cost sheet, giving you 3 to 4 minutes time to copy everything. Anyone having any doubts or queries? Giving you 2 minutes time to copy everything. Do copy the format. See, format is there in the study material. But when you are preparing your notes, do write. Because again, I repeat, what you will write, you will remember it forever. So I request you guys to copy the format. Just analyze what I have discussed till now. There are few more points that need to be discussed. But in the meanwhile, whatever the queries you have, you guys can post. So I can address all your queries. In the meanwhile, those who don't have any doubts or queries, then you guys can please copy. Which GST you are talking about? See, GST generally in question information will be given in the question regarding GST on purchase of raw material. So if the duty credit is available, then better ignore GST. If the duty credit is not available, then we have to add GST. Basically, this is the final cost of the product. In this, we will add markup, that is profit, and we will get the sales value. Gunjan. Anyone else? Everyone? Anyone having any doubts? Gunjan, Vaishnavi, Medha, Rajveer, Abhishek, Kuldeep, Prajot, Chaitra, Shamli, Mujahid, Himanshu. Yes, till cost of sales, it's cost sheet, Meenu. So now, done with the format of cost sheet. Let's summarize what we have discussed till now. So today we started with one of the easiest chapter of the syllabus, that is cost sheet. Cost sheet is a statement wherein we systematically record all the cost. When talking about cost, direct cost, indirect cost, the cost that is directly attributable in manufacturing a product is direct cost. Indirect cost, the cost that play a supporting role in manufacturing a product is indirect cost. When talking about cost statement, very simple. Opening stock of raw material, add purchase of raw material, subtract closing stock, we will get raw material consumed. If direct material is given in the question, straight away write direct material. In this raw material consumed, we will add direct labor and direct expenses. The final figure what we will get is prime cost. In prime cost, we will add all the factory overheads. So one of the student mentioned that, sir, give few examples on factory overheads. So basically rent of factory building, repairs on factory building, depreciation on factory building, then rent, repairs of plant and machinery, depreciation of plant and machinery, factory supervisor, factory gatekeeper, and whatever the costs that are relating to factory will form part of factory overheads. In factory overheads, after adding the factory overheads, we will get the gross factory cost or work cost. In gross factory or work cost, we will make adjustments of opening and closing work in progress if it is given in the question. So after making adjustments, we will get the factory cost or work cost. After getting factory cost or work cost, we will add and subtract few items. So first item, quality control cost, research and development cost, administration overhead related to production, and we will add primary packing cost. And the last part, that is fifth point, we will subtract credit for recoveries. So these points are very important. Quality control cost, research and development cost, administration overhead related to production, primary packing cost, we will add, and we will subtract credit for recoveries. Thereafter, after making these adjustments, we will get the cost of production. In cost of production, we will make adjustments of opening and closing stock of finished goods. So we will get the cost of goods sold. Now, very important, generally the value of closing stock of finished goods will not be given in the question. So the value of finished goods, the closing stock of finished goods will be valued at cost of production. So after calculating the cost of goods sold, we will add three items, that is all the administration overhead, selling overhead, and distribution overhead. So this is how we will get the cost of sales, and this is what we have discussed till now. Anyone having any doubts or queries till now, you guys can please post your query. Giving you 2 more minutes time to post your queries. I'm done with the cost sheet format. Few more points, and thereafter we will start with the practical question. See, these chapters what I have discussed till now are very easy. From the next chapter, that is process costing and all, you'll find a bit more difficult chapter, but interesting chapter. So anyone having any doubts? I hope everyone is thorough with the format of cost sheet. We have covered each and every point in detail. See, Mr. Sri Kumar, as I mentioned earlier also, very important when talking about GST on raw material. If duty credit is available, ignore GST. If duty credit is not available, if duty credit is not available, then add GST to the cost of purchase. I hope it is clear to all now. What will be the treatment of GST? So fine, guys. Enough of discussion on format of cost sheet. Let's take a break of 15 minutes. Thereafter, I'll discuss one more concept, and then we will start with few practical questions. So let's take a break of 1 second. There is a query. Now, this is a break for me, not for you guys. During the break, I want you guys to memorize the format. Just try to repeat the things again and again. Try to memorize the format. So while solving the question, you'll find it like it's very easy. So during the break, I want everyone to just memorize the format. Just recollect the concepts what I have discussed. After the break, we'll discuss one more point, and then we will start with the practical question. So, admin sir, please put the break. Welcome back, my friends. So now we are done with the format of cost sheet. So let's proceed further with the next point. I'm coming to this part now, Kuldeep. Don't worry. There are certain items that will not form part of cost sheet. There are certain items that will not be considered while preparing cost sheet. So let's start with these items. Anyone having any idea what all items will not form part of cost sheet? I'm just waiting for your opinion. What all items that will not form part of cost sheet? Please do post your answers and opinion. So I've got the answer from Ishwarya. So very good. As Ishwarya said, abnormal loss will not form part of cost sheet. Yes, Meenu, abnormal loss and abnormal cost will not form part of cost sheet. So I've got the same answer from all the three students. Again, Hina, abnormal loss. So any sort of abnormal loss or abnormal gain. Any sort of abnormal loss or abnormal gain will not form part of cost sheet. Interest expenses, yes, earlier it was like it will not form part of cost sheet, but now there is an amendment and there is a change wherein all the interest expenses will form part of cost sheet. So let's see. Damages cost is basically Archana. It will form part of cost sheet. Sorry, it is covered under abnormal cost or abnormal loss only. Subsidies or grant received on purchase of raw material will be deducted from the cost of raw material. I want everyone to participate. Very good, Prajyot. Your answers are correct. So any sort of fines, penalties, demurrage, or abnormal cost. Basically, all these are the abnormal costs will not form part of cost sheet. Anyone with other opinion? Okay, so I've got many answers now. Penalty, fine, and damages, very good. Miss Selvi. Meenu, dividend, capital expenditure, very good. All your answers are correct, Meenu. What about other students? Medha. Okay, so let me check Medha. Very good, Medha. Your answers are correct. Aishwarya. Very good, Aishwarya. Your answers are correct. So now let's start. The first is abnormal loss or abnormal gain, or any sort of fines, penalties, damages, demurrage will not form part of cost sheet. Very important. Bad debts will not form part of cost sheet. Bad debts has nothing to do with cost sheet and it will not form part of cost sheet. Income tax or advance tax or provision for tax, all will not form part of cost sheet. Dividend received or dividend paid or proposed dividend, all will not form part of cost sheet. Interest received will not form part of cost sheet, but yes, interest paid will form part of cost sheet. Indirect material, Rajiv, I have already discussed in detail. Indirect material will always form part of cost sheet. Indirect material can be at factory level also, admin level also, and selling and distribution level also. So postage and telegram used in office, it is an indirect material and it is covered under office and administration overhead. Indirect material, consumable stores, or we can say consumable stores, or we can say grease, oil, lubricating oil, all are indirect material and they are used in factory. So it will form part of factory overheads. So indirect material is incorrect. So interest paid will form part of cost sheet, but dividend received, dividend paid, or proposed dividend will not form part of cost sheet. Any sort of provisions given, provision for discount on debtors, provision for creditors, or provision for tax, or any sort of transfer to reserves, it will never form part of cost sheet. So to confuse you guys, examiner can give these points in the question. So better it is to be ignored. One more point. Profit or loss on sale of assets or investment. Profit or loss on sale of assets or investment will not form part of cost sheet. Very important, guys. Any sort of fixed assets or liabilities will not form part of cost sheet. So, assets or liabilities. Example, plant and machinery, building, furniture, capital, debtors, etc. If some statement is given wherein plant is given, building is given, furniture is given, capital is given, debtors, creditors, loans, anything is given, it will never form part of cost sheet. But yes, depreciation on assets will form part of cost sheet. Again, one more point, purchase or sale of assets or investments will also not form part of cost sheet. Anyone else with any other point? Okay, so goodwill or preliminary expenses written off. Goodwill oblique written off. All these will not form part of cost sheet. Anyone with extra opinion? It's basically the creditors only. Incentive, yes, it will form part of cost sheet. So any sort of incentive, grants given to the workers or bonus given to the worker will form part of cost sheet. So Hina, sir, can we also consider any prepaid or outstanding expenses depending upon question to question? Anyone else with any other opinion? See, Meenu, earlier to interest expense and interest income was like not considered while preparing cost sheet, but now due to change in due to adapting the cost accounting standards, interest expenses will form part of cost sheet because to run the business we need funds, and for arrangement of funds we have to pay interest. So that interest cost will form part of cost sheet. But when talking about interest received, interest is received on what? Investments. So investment has nothing to do with cost calculation. So if any interest or dividend is received on investment made outside, so herein it will not form part of cost sheet because it has nothing to do with the cost of product. Yes, it is a part of income when while preparing financial statements, but while preparing cost sheet, it has nothing to do with the cost of product. Subsidies. So Archana, subsidies are the grants that are received by government. So subsidy, if it is related to purchase of raw material, it will be deducted from the cost of material. But apart from this, the general subsidies or grant to set up the business, it has nothing to do with cost calculation. So it will never form part of cost sheet. But yes, if the subsidy is received on purchase of material, it will be deducted from the cost of material. Anyone? Anything running in your mind, feel free to ask me. I'll be addressing query of each and every student. So we are done with this conceptual part. Now we'll be starting with the practical question. So before we start with the practical question, every student of mine should be thorough with everything. So whatever running in your mind, you guys can speak up. So creditor, Adil Khan, it's a liability. I have mentioned that all the assets and liabilities. So it will not form part of cost sheet. Interim dividend, basically it's what? Dividend. So dividend paid, proposed dividend, or we can say right interim dividend also. Underwriting commission, yes, it will not form part of cost sheet. Hina, very important. While solving the normal question on cost sheet, no information will be given as regards prepaid or outstanding. But yes, when you are in the coming chapter, wherein you will be reconciling cost and financial statement, and when financial statements are given, and you have to prepare cost sheet and you have to prepare the statement of reconciliation, then this information will be given in the question and it will form part of cost sheet. I hope your query is resolved, Hina. Payment of liability, again, since liability will not form part of cost sheet, so why the payment of liability will form part of cost sheet? So payment received from debtors and payment to creditors, it will not form part of cost sheet. Donation, yes, it will not form part of cost sheet, Aishwarya. It has nothing to do with cost calculation. Damages, again, damages Penalties and fine, demurrages cost, anything. It will not form part of cost sheet, Medha. Finance cost, yes, interest expense or finance cost, it will form part of cost sheet. This will not, Ishwarya. Interest on debentures will not form part of cost sheet. Yes, if any loan is taken for running the business, it will form part of cost sheet. I repeat again, Meenu, when talking about grants or subsidies, if it is on purchase of material, it will be deducted from the cost of material. But if it is any grants or subsidy to set up the business or for purchase of any assets, it will not form part of cost sheet. However, it will be deducted from the cost of assets. So you need to go through accounting standard 12, government grants. Gratuity pension, yes, it will form part. It will be deducted from the solar power cost rather than keeping it as a part of subsidy. Okay, Minu. After capital, it is debtors. Sales revenue it has nothing to do with cost, Deepika. Rent of go down, Mustafa, Mr. So rent of go down. So it is more or less after the products are manufactured. So it will form part of either selling or distribution cost. In fact, if the go down is used to store the final product, then it is a part of selling and distribution cost. Subsidies and grant, I have already discussed. Mrs. Prajapati. Rohan, donation, I have already covered. Anyone else with any doubts? Harish Mishra, donation charity. Again, I have mentioned donation charity will not form part of cost sheet. Okay, so samples given to the customers, free sample distributed, it will form part of selling cost. So free sample, advertisement, etc. will form part of selling and distribution cost. So sample given to the customer will form part of selling and distribution cost. And if any free samples are distributed to the worker, it will form part of wages because no company give anything for free. Salesman commission, the name itself says commission on sales. So it will form part of selling cost. Nothing to do with, as I have mentioned also, dividend, assets and liabilities. So investments are basically my assets. So it will not form part of cost sheet, Miss Prajapati. Any sort of investment will not form part of cost sheet. Cash discount, I mentioned earlier also, it will never form part of cost sheet and it will not form part of cost of material also. It has a Dell Credit Commission, it has nothing to do with manufacturing a product. Yes, Medha Sen, so we need to ignore all these items. Funds, shares and funds, again, it's a liability. So it will not share capital or capital, it's a liability. It is shown on the liability side. So it will not form part of cost sheet. Gift given to customer, it's basically the free samples. So it will form part of selling and distribution cost. It's an abnormal cost if it is a damage due to accident. So abnormal cost will not form part of cost sheet. Stationary expenses, it will form part of office overheads. postage, telegram, stationery. It will form part of office overheads. So done with all the items. So this is all what about the cost sheet concepts. So these items are to be not to be considered while preparing cost sheets. I request you guys to copy these items. Giving you 2 minutes time. Thereafter, we will start with the practical questions. Mr. Linga, CCTV on production said it's an assets. So it has nothing to do with cost. The depreciation on CCTV will form part of cost sheet. And since it is in production set, so it will form part of factory overheads. Royalty paid will form part of direct expenses. Very important. Royalty paid or any sort of technical know-how fees. So all will form part of direct expenses. Interest received will never form part of cost sheet. Interest paid will form part of cost sheet. Aditya. Anyone else with any unique item? Mustafa, it can be classified under factory expenses. I'm not getting what you're saying, Medha. It will not form part of cost sheet. Both the items, discount on sale of product. If anything is given in the question, then it will not form part of cost sheet. Discount on purchase, if it is a trade discount, will be deducted from the cost of raw material. But discount on sales, it will not form part of cost sheet. Again, in company, nothing is given for free. So whatever any sort of benefit or facility provided to the workers, either free of cost or at a concessional rate, will form part of direct wages. Security premium, again, it has nothing to do with cost calculation. It's a part of liability. It's to be shown on the liability side. So it will not form part of cost sheet. That is basically underwriting commission or discount on issue of shares. So these are all the preliminary expenses. So it is shown on the asset side. And again, if they are written off, then it will not form part of cost sheet. Any sort of discount on sale of product, discount basically allowed. So discount allowed. The language will be given in the question as discount allowed. So it will not form part of cost sheet. Anyone else with any other question? It has nothing to do with cost calculation, Riddhi, Miss Rabari. Discount received on purchase of material. If it is a trade discount, it will be deducted from the cost of raw material. Yes, Minu. Again, we are done with the conceptual part. So let's start with one practical question. Still, I think there is a query. Let me check. Weight bridge to know the weight of raw material. Mr. Linga, it's an asset. So now let's proceed further. So the hard work is all over. So now let's start with illustration number 1. I request you guys to read illustration number 1. I request you guys to read illustration number 1. Give me a minute. So let's start with illustration number 1. Page number, it is 6.10. Page number 6.10, illustration number 1. The following data relates to the manufacture of a standard product during the month of April, wherein raw material is given, direct wages are given, machine hours worked is given, machine hour rate is given, administration overheads general are given, selling overheads per units given, unit produced, unit sold, and the selling price is given. You are required to prepare a cost sheet in respect of the above, showing the cost per unit and profit for the month. So let's start with this illustration. I request you guys to open your... Yes, Mustafa. Mustafa. Again, the questions are very easy and straightforward. The questions are very easy and straightforward. The point is, you should be thorough with the concept, and yes, you should memorize the format. That is very important. So let's start with this illustration. Illustration number 1, page number 6.10. So let's start with the preparation of statement of cost. So now see, when talking about this illustration, no information is given in the question as regards opening and closing stock of raw material. So we will start directly with raw material, that is 1,80,000. Again, the units manufactured are 4,000. So units. So let's start with direct material, wherein the material cost is 1,80,000. Next is direct wages. It is 90,000. When talking about direct expenses, no information is given in the question as regards direct expenses. So this will be my prime cost. That is 2,70,000. We have to divide it by quantity to calculate the cost per unit. So this will be 45, 90,000. So this will be half. So 22.5. So this will be 67.5. So we are done with the calculation of prime cost. Now, when talking about factory overheads, it is given machine hours work 10,000 and the machine hour rate, that is the absorption rate of overheads is given, that is rupees 8. So herein, my factory overheads will be how much? 80,000. So 4,000 divided by 80,000, this will be 20. Now, very important, no information is given in the question as regards the opening and closing work in progress. See, herein, after adding the factory overheads, we used to calculate, we used to get gross factory or work cost. Thereafter, we do make adjustments of opening and closing work in progress. So we get the factory cost or work cost. So no information is given in the question as regards opening and closing work in progress. So we will directly get factory oblique work cost. So this will be 3,50,000. So this is how we will get 87.5. Now in this we have to make adjustments of few items, that is research and development cost, quality control cost, factory overhead related to production, add primary packing cost, and we used to subtract credit for recoveries. Now see, let's see these items are given or not. No information is given as regards these items. So what we will get is cost of production. So since no information is given, we will directly get cost of production. And see, in cost of production, we used to add opening and closing stock of finished goods. So we used to get cost of goods sold. So see, no information is given in this question as regards these 5 items. Apart from this, no information is given in the question as regards opening and closing stock of finished goods. So basically, this figure is what? My cost of goods sold. Anyone with any doubts or queries? Very good, Meenu. Very good, Prajyot. So we have got the cost of goods sold. Sorry, cost of production. Sorry, the information is given as regards the units sold. So there will be basically the final finished stock also. So in cost of production, we will subtract sorry guys, no information was given in the question as regards 5 items. So this is cost of production. Now herein, the units manufactured are 4,000. The units manufactured are 4,000 and the units sold are 3,600. So it means what 400 units is what my closing stock. Units manufactured are 4,000 and units sold are 3,600. Closing stock is 400 units. Yes. Sorry. Now, as I said, closing stock is valued at cost of production. Closing stock is valued at cost of production. So, value of closing stock will be how much? We can directly write here. So, this will be 35,000. So, this will be 3,15,000. Now, herein, till the units produced, till the units manufactured, this data is for 4,000 units. Now we have removed the effect of 400 units. From now and onwards, the cost will be calculated on balance 3,600 units. So see, administration overheads are given, selling overheads are given. So from here and onwards, it will be 3,600 units only. So administration overheads are given, that is 35,000. And selling overheads are given, that is 5 rupees per unit. So 5 into 3,600. So this will be 18,000. And 35,000 divided by 3,600. So it will be 9.72. So after adding administration overhead and selling overhead, we will get cost of sales. This will be 3,68,000. So this will be 102.22. Anyone having any doubts? Very good, Shamli. Very good, Medha. See, I think one of the student is facing doubt in calculation of finished goods. So see, the total units manufactured are 4,000. Of this, units sold are 3,600. So it means the closing stock that is left out is how much? 400 units. We manufacture 4,000 units. Of this 4,000 units, 3,600 units are sold. So it means 400 units are still in stock. And when talking about the value of finished goods, as I mentioned also, that finished goods are valued at cost of production. And the cost of production per unit is how much? 87.5. Very good, everyone. Okay, Aishwarya. So now very important point. The important point was that till here, till the units that are manufactured, this is cost of goods sold. Huh? Till the units manufactured, we talk about 4,000 units. And after the cost of goods sold, we talk about the units that are sold. So herein, from herein onwards, 3,600 units will come into picture. And till here, it will be 4,000 units. This is cost of goods sold. In this, if we add all these items, we will get the cost of sales. We can prepare the statement of profit also. Wherein the sales value is given in the question. That is, the units are sold at the rate 125. So 3,600 units are sold at the rate 125. So this will be 4,50,000 minus the cost of sales is 3,68,000. So the final profit will be 82,000. So again, guys, very simple. The prime cost, add, we will add the factory overheads. No information is given in the question as regards opening and closing work in progress and quality control cost, research and development cost, credit for recovery, etc., etc. So directly after adding the factory overheads, we will get the cost of production. In cost of production, we will make adjustments of opening and closing stock of finished goods. So we will get the cost of goods sold. After getting the cost of goods sold, the per unit will be calculated on the units that are actually sold. So administration and selling overheads will be divided by the units that are sold. So anyways, this is the solution. Anyone having any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. In the coming session, we'll be discussing few more questions and few good questions also. Very good, Prajyot. See, Meenu, the units manufactured were 4,000. Of this 400 units, see, till now we were manufacturing 4,000 units. But herein we have deducted 400, the proportionate cost of 400 units. So from herein onwards, we will be considering 3,600 units. Because the additional cost will be charged on the units that are sold, Meenu. Rajiv Rai, please recheck your calculation. $3,600 units are sold. That's why we are calculating on 3,600 units. 400 units are in stock. So till the units that are manufactured, it is 4,000 units. Of these 4,000 units, 400 units are still in stock. So it means we are left out with 3,600, and this cost, that is administration, selling and distribution, will be charged on the units that are sold. So anyone having any doubts or queries now? If anyone guys want to speak up also, I can tell the admin sir to unmute you. So you can raise your hand. Admin, selling and distribution overheads are charged only on the units that are sold. Mustafa, I request you to just write a mail addressing my name. I'll be addressing your query. See, the factory overheads are absorbed on the basis of labor hours. Sorry, the factory overheads are absorbed on the basis of machine hours, and the absorption rate is also given, that is 8. So 10,000 into 8. CMA-inter@ICAI.in. Anyone else with any doubts or queries? So guys, done with today's session. I request you guys to revise what I have discussed till now. Try to solve one or two questions from study material. In the coming session, I'll be discussing few more questions from cost sheet. So till then, do revise what I have discussed, and see you guys in the next session. Take care of yourself and God bless you. Thank you so much. Yes, Mustafa. Admin sir, I'm done. Yes, yes.